Hello and welcome in to a Matt O'Leary live stream, hanging out with you before some New York Jets against the Dallas Cowboys. Week 2, the 1-0 New York Jets go to Dallas to take on the 1-0 Dallas Cowboys. Things, as we know, unfortunately looking a little bit differently at the quarterback spot than one would have anticipated going into week 2. Thought it would be Aaron Rodgers, Dak Prescott. Instead, it is Zach Wilson making the return to the starting lineup. We will get into that. And just pretty much all of your thoughts beforehand on this game between these two teams. Now, I am one, and I don't know if it's just like, hey, trying to be positive Jet fan. I'm going to talk myself into the Jets having a good chance in this game. But I don't understand that the spread in this game is 8.5, 9.5 points, depending on where you look. It's pretty wild to me with how good this New York Jets defense is. And I get it. Like, obviously, going from Rodgers to Wilson's going to impact the line movement. Understood that, no questions about it. But this Jets defense, I think, is too good for them to get their doors blown off, even if Zach Wilson struggles, which I'm not predicting is going to happen. I don't have it in my heart to predict a struggle fest for our guy, Zach Wilson. I'm going to be rooting for him. I thought about rocking the number 2 jersey today, but it's the white number 2 jersey that I have, and the Jets are in green today. So instead, I'm rocking 17. Can't go wrong with Garrett Wilson in the green jersey. I am excited to watch him on the field and hopefully get more attention this week. I think they need to target him in the passing attack. And look, I get it. The Jets are going to run the football. I've been calling for them to run the ball 30 plus times in the game today. And even with that in mind, I still think Garrett Wilson should be force-fed targets. To me, there's no reason he's not having at least 6+ catches in this game. I just think he is way too talented. Now, there were definitely some changes, as we know, obviously, Zach Wilson's starting, but I wanted to bring up, we don't have the inactives and actives yet. As we get further along in this stream, I would anticipate that to come in. But what I do have is some roster changes for the New York Jets. So we will go through that. We'll go through your comments and questions as well. Super chats go first. So if you want to send in a super chat, that's a way to not only support the channel, but make sure your question goes first. But we start this off with some roster moves that we got yesterday. The New York Jets signed Tim Boyle to the active roster. He will be QB2. He was not available as the emergency quarterback last week. So if, God forbid, Zach Wilson got hurt in that game against the Buffalo Bills, the Jets did not have another quarterback on the active roster. So they would have had to go to Randall Cobb, who is the emergency quarterback today. We found out Irv Charles, unfortunately, gets released as the corresponding move. The Jets were carrying 7 wide receivers to start the season, which came as a little bit of a surprise. That number goes down to 6 with the switch there. And they signed and elevated Austin Seibert, who is going to fill in for Greg Zerloin today, which is a sneaky big deal. Like, I know that it's not exactly sexy to talk about the kickers, or like, oh, like there's a lot more important things to talk about than kickers and stuff. But you saw it in the game in week 1. The Jets special teams won the game. Xavier Gipson returned the kick for a touchdown. That was huge in that game. Xavier Gipson's ability to return that punt return for a touchdown won the New York Jets the game. Special teams matters. And when it's a tight game, which I think, this game, I think projects to be a low scoring game. To me, there's no, that's a key factor in it. Special teams is going to be a big difference, and turnovers are going to be a big difference in this game. If they want to have any chance, once again, if they want to have any single chance today, they have to be on the positive side in the turnover margin. So they can't be, on the negative department there. We know how good the Dallas Cowboys are at taking away the football, whether it's Trayvon Diggs or Stephon Gilmore or whoever else on that defense. They have the ability to take away the football. The Jets have to come out on the positive side of that turnover margin and the special teams, which that kind of coincides with where I was going with the Xavier Gipson Excuse me, not the Xavier Gibson. Xavier Gibson's returning the punts and kicks with the Greg Zerloin news that he will be out. So hopefully the kicker goes in, doesn't miss a beat, and I hope that Zerloin's really not out for too long. Let's get into some of your comments here. Green and White Militia's hanging out with us. He goes, glad to see this. I just got a service call an hour away. Oh boy. Well, yeah, pop this on for your drive. Hopefully that eases things a little bit for you. That stinks. Good for you for going out and working though and doing the damn thing. You're a better man than I, Green and White Militia. SG says, yo, he's hanging out with us. What's going on? He's a member of the channel. You could join and become a member of the channel as well. Hit the join button. Should be right next to where you're able to subscribe to the YouTube channel. That really helps us out. Jeff wants to know what everyone's wearing and says, I got the black Curtis Martin jersey on. Curtis is a classic. One of the biggest reasons why I became a Jet fan was because of Curtis Martin and this New York, early 2000s New York Jets team. He was so good. He was, the Jets' most explosive player on offense. And, that 2004 season was spectacular. To me, that's the one that really stood out. And he was, again, really, really good that year and left an impression on 9-year-old Matt. And was one of the big reasons why I had such a love for this New York Jets team. Jets 44 says nervous, but also optimistic. It's weird. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I don't know if we're going to be able to see the New York Jets pull out this win. I certainly hope that they can. The Dallas Cowboys are a great team. As I mentioned, the Jets defense is good enough where they're going to be in this game to the very, very end. Very, very tough matchup to go down to Dallas on the road and win this game, but they can do it. They absolutely can do it. And what they're going to need is help from their young quarterback. They don't need Zach Wilson to be absolutely, amazing and be the savior of the franchise in this game. They just need him to operate the offense, which I think he ended up doing a much better job at in the second half of that game against the Buffalo Bills in week 1. I want to pull up his numbers for you from last week. So I'm going to minimize you because I think that is a big storyline from this game today. And let's pull up the numbers from Zach Wilson. 14 of 21. Completion percentage was good, though. 66.67, 140 yards, 1 touchdown, 6.67 yards per attempt. Hopefully, you would like to see no interceptions. And I would think that they would throw the ball maybe a little bit more than 21 times. He didn't play the whole game, although he almost did. But I'm thinking like 28 passing attempts for Zach Wilson today, something like that. And if you can go like, I don't know, what's 18 of 28? Completion percentage is 64.3. I would absolutely sign up for that. And maybe let's do 28 times 7, 196 yards. That's a performance that I would sign up for. But even if we go to his game logs from a year ago, there were some games that he had, especially early on, where you could win. And that's what the Jets were doing. They were winning with Zach Wilson not having to do a whole lot. Specifically, the Miami game, I think, is a great example. 14 of 21, 210 yards, a 99.3 rating. And the Buffalo game, 18 of 25, 72 completion percentage, which was really nice. 154 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. If he could give you a performance somewhere, in between these two or right around these two, then I think you're in great shape. The New England game, no, you can't get that kind of performance. A completion percentage under 50%. 3 turnovers, and you certainly can't get the one in New England, 9 of 22, a 40.9 completion percentage, 77 yards, just an absolutely brutal showing from him. And they need, again, this version against Buffalo or this version against Miami in order for them to, I think, have a shot in this game. Sean Hunt says we have to protect the quarterback. That is going to be a big factor to me in this game. I think if they are protecting the quarterback, then they will have a chance. This Dallas pass rush is legit, and it is much deeper than just DeMarcus Lawrence and it is a very DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons. Those two are obviously the big name guys, but that is that is the strength of this defense. It's kind of similar to the Jets. They get after the quarterback and they have a really good cornerback room. They have 3 good corners who are, all starters. So the Jets are going to have to get creative in the passing attack. And whether that is, utilizing the tight ends more, using multiple tight end sets, multiple running backs, they could do some things to get a little bit creative here and hopefully create some mismatches. King Co says Ruckert tight end too. That would be nice to see. I think that absolutely is something worthwhile to get into, as he deserves a bigger role. I loved what we saw from him in the blocking game, especially in week 1. I think he is the Jets' best blocking tight ends. So absolutely something to keep an eye on. The 49ers are showing, I have red zone on, so we could react to some red zone stuff or just things around the league in the background if you want in the comments. They're showing inactives for the 49ers. I'll double check again and see if there's any inactives on here that the Jets have put out. I think it's a little early for that. No, but they did just release send out a tweet. So we'll do that. We'll share the Jets running back duo of Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook coming out onto the field. Here, we'll back this up. There they go. Coming out onto the field. Breece Hall, Dalvin Cook. Those two should be utilized a lot. 13 carries for Dalvin in week 1. Breece Hall had 10. I mentioned it earlier, but I would like to see the Jets go over 30 total carries in this game. I think that's the number, 30 carries in this game. John, he's a member of the channel. John, thank you so much for your support. Says, Matt, at what point do we pull Tomlinson, who's getting destroyed, and put Tippmann in? It is definitely something that I think is going to be talked about if we see another bad performance. Now, I don't know if they would be so quick to make the change going into the game against New England. That's a really, really difficult ask. Be like, hey, it's time for you to make your debut against, one of the better defenses in the league, one of the best defensive coaches in the league, and Bill Belichick. Like, that's a really big challenge. But again, like, Laken Tomlinson was really bad last year. I know that Seth Walder had his interior offensive line rankings in the run game, and he ranked him very, very high in terms of run blocking. I didn't see it. He certainly didn't pass the eye test to me. I think his leash is short. I would think, maybe within the next couple of weeks, if he has back-to-back bad games again, like there's Joe Tippmann, it's hard for me to believe that Joe Tippmann's going to be worse than what we've seen from Laken Tomlinson now in 18 games. It's not a small sample size. We're looking at an 18-game sample size to me. So not ideal. Jeff Life, what's going on? Matt, what's your take on the Rodgers comments about returning to the playoffs if we make it? First and foremost, you got to get there first. You have to make the playoffs first. But I am cautiously optimistic with the Jets making the playoffs just in general. I think that with this roster is built, they are, primed to be a team that should be competing for a playoff spot, even with Zach Wilson or someone else as their starting quarterback. There's just too much talent on this roster. I don't want to rush Rodgers back and have him hurt. So I want to make sure that he is fully okay. We saw it was Cam Akers, I believe, come back in 5 months from the Achilles surgery. So if we can see that from Rodgers, or maybe in the 4-month timetable to get him at the start of January, that's what it would be. That's what you'd be looking at. But it's I appreciate his comments of wanting to get back as quickly as possible. I think it shows just how much he cares about this team. But I don't know how realistic it is to hold out that hope that he is coming back for the playoffs. Maybe it's certainly, possible. Crazier things have happened, but I would just really be cautious with that. Micro Fox says it's going to come down to whose defense plays better today. Yeah, I mean, this is 2 really, really great defenses, the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Jets going up against it, which again is part of the reason why I was so confused with the line being 9.5 points because of, or at least starting at, I believe they moved down to 8.5 at this point before kickoff. But that just being such a, big number with how good these defenses are, you're going to have to see what, 24 points probably for the Cowboys to hit that number. And I don't know if they get there. If one team gets to 20 points, they probably win the game. I wouldn't be shocked if neither team reaches 20 points. I think this is like a 16-13 game. I think it's going to be ugly. Both teams are going to try to run the ball. They're going to play great defense. I wouldn't expect a ton of scoring in this one. I really wouldn't. This is a good point from Little JA08. Says, if we win, I think the fan base will be restored. I certainly think it would help the confidence level of this fan base, especially in Zach Wilson, if he comes out and plays well. And plays well doesn't have to be 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. Again, that would be stellar, but it could be, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, a high completion percentage, and the Jets win the game. Absolutely. You'd feel really, really good about that performance. That'd be really nice. And, while it didn't start great, I thought he had a really bad interception last week to Matt Milano. I thought he settled in really nicely after that in the second half. He put up some actually like pretty okay numbers. He's 9 of 13, had the touchdown pass, no interceptions after that, no turnovers after that. So again, we'll see if he's going to be able to, really get that going. And continue this week. I hope we see more of the second half of Zach Wilson. Because again, there were sometimes like the dropping back really far. The interception was bad, but Nathaniel Hackett's work is cut out for him in this game. It's going to be exciting to see how much improvement there's been and how much Nathaniel Hackett is going to play a role in this. John chimes in, says, if the Jets are going to win any game, the D needs to score and the punter needs to score. 30. Zach Wilson's 14 points per ain't cutting it. Also feel better with the heat when a sack is coming. Oh, also better feel the heat when a sack is coming. Yeah, of course. Naturally. What else we got? Vinny says, if we get blown out by 3 scores or more, I want Zach cut as soon as the game is over. Vinny, I hate to break it to you. I don't think that is going to happen because they don't have an option to go to. They're not going to go to Tim Boyle right away. They're not going to cut him. So we're going to check in on the Twitter sphere now and see if we have any updates on injuries. Right now, or this is a little while ago, but they showed Zach Wilson making his way in. Quads look good. Showing him off in the short shorts. I love it. Love to see that. Yeah, it's look, I think it's going to be a tight game. I don't necessarily expect one team to run away with it. I think it's a back and forth, low scoring game. As Joe Burrow is just picked off on red zone. So really tough go for this Bengals team right now, who lost in week 1 to the Cleveland Browns. Had high expectations, though. They started 0-2 last year, so can't really completely write them off yet. That offense has not looked good so far through 2 weeks. Also, I don't know if you saw earlier in this Raiders and Buffalo Bills game that there was Josh Allen trying to leapfrog somebody or jump over, hurdle somebody into the end zone. He's like 5 yards out of the end zone. Wasn't even close to making it in. Hawkeye says, I would like to see the Jets try to bring out a couple kickoffs and make something happen. They certainly have the explosiveness, right, with Xavier Gibson to do that. He was, he had a few really nice returns, and you're going to have to try to get aggressive in order to win this game. You might need a defensive, a turnover or 2 or a special team score, something to get you an extra possession or something else to get you points other than your traditional ways. And setting yourself up in really good field position is, to me, I think the best way to go about doing that. And that could be done, as mentioned here by Hawkeye, by bringing the ball out of the end zone and not just taking it for the 25. Now, you can't do that every single time. There's a reason why most of these things are touchbacks in the NFL. A lot of these go for touchbacks, but if there's a chance to bring one out or you're unsure, I would understand if they, try to get aggressive there, trying to make something happen, because it's going to be difficult to just line up and play nose to nose against this team. Jay says over under 4.5 sacks on Dak today. I think that's a good line for it to be at. Chuma Doga starting at left guard, from familiar face, former Jet, is that's a major thing for that interior of that Jets defensive line. Quentin Jefferson and Quinnen Williams were stellar against Buffalo last week. I think they're going to have to be stellar again today and get a pretty nice matchup there with Chuma starting at left guard. I would take the over. I would say 5 again, like last week. I think 5 is the number. Now, Dallas had 7 sacks last week. So I think these are two defenses who are going to be going after it and getting after it. And, the quarterback, the pass rush is something that's so important to both of these teams. I would expect both teams to finish over 4.5 sacks. Unfortunately, too, with Zach Wilson, we've seen him. One of the biggest flaws with Zach Wilson's game is that they have, in the past, he has held onto the ball for way too long. It takes a lot of sacks because of the amount of time that he holds onto the ball, and going up against a vaunted pass rush like the Cowboys have is going to be very, very, very challenging. Billy's drops in his prediction saying Jets 24, Dallas Cowboys 17. That would be nice. I don't see either team getting to 24 points, but I would absolutely sign up for that. I think we're looking at like a 16-13 game. It's going to go right down to the wire. And whichever team makes less mistakes is going to win the game. I hope the Jets come away with the win. That would be absolutely epic, because a lot of people are counting them out in this game. They don't think they have a chance with Zach Wilson, and I get it. It's a really big drop off from going from Aaron Rodgers to Zach Wilson, but I thought this team showed a lot of fight last week. They could have rolled over and died, and that's a credit to Robert Saleh. I think we have to show some love to the head coach and Robert Saleh, who kept his team in the game after a horrific injury 4 plays into their season. You lose your starting quarterback 4 plays into your season, and the team rallies and wins the game. Defense balls out, offense is able to do enough. They play great special teams. I think Saleh deserves the credit for that. Koom, I know you're a Dallas fan, but you don't have to lie. Chuma Doga is not solid. We have watched him for many, many, many years as a New York Jet fan. There's a chance that he's better inside than at tackle, but Chuma Doga that's a massive drop off from what you normally have at left guard to go into Chuma Doga. Jay says, anything you think that can make any less nervous about Parsons? I'd play a lot of 2 tight end sets and have somebody there, to probably Jeremy Ruckert or CJ Uzama, who are the 2 better blocking tight ends. Ruckert is the best of the 2, in order to help chip Parsons. I think that's going to be the key. You don't necessarily have to have him go, one-on-one with either Dwayne Brown or Mekhi Becton. Becton's confidence is growing, which is great, and I thought he was okay last week. Dwayne Brown wasn't that great last week, but the more that they play together, the more that I think the line is going to begin to gel, and hopefully we'll see improvements as it goes. But I would put a tight end over there, whether it be, again, Uzama or Ruckert, one of those 2 guys, to try to help out these tackles, because it's not going to be easy. It really is not going to be an easy day for those guys, for this entirety of the defensive line. All right, we have the inactive list now. The Jets just shared it, so we will pull that up. Good news, going over the inactive. Carl Lawson is back, so Carl Lawson will be making his debut. This is going to rub some people the wrong way. Will McDonald inactive is going to bother a lot of people. Izzy Abanikanda inactive, Brownlee inactive, Max Mitchell, Will McDonald, Zaire Barnes, Bryce Hall, and Greg Zerloin are your inactives for the New York Jets. Again, I bet a lot of people are not going to like to see Will McDonald as the inactive guy. I already see a ton in the comment section now about this, that he's inactive. People are not gonna like McDonald is inactive. He didn't play a ton in that first game, and I think there'll be times where they work him in, but yeah, I understand. I understand that people are going to say, "Well, this is a first round pick. He's got to be in there." They like Carl Lawson, and I do too. I'm excited to see Carl Lawson back. V-Man says, "I just have a feeling the Cowboys going to cowboy." Fair. Kareem asks, "Is Brees Hall playing?" Yes, Brees Hall will be playing. Barney is saying McDonald has a hurt elbow. There we go. That is something to keep a note on with the injury to Will McDonald and how that's going to play a factor in this one. Again, not a lot of people are going to like this. There's going to be a big, I think, overreaction to it, but yeah, Izzy, Jason Brownlee, Max Mitchell, Will McDonald, Zaire Barnes, Bryce Hall, Greg Zerloin are your inactives. And then Barney comes back with Bawden is in, ground and pound season loading. Oh, yeah. I think they're going to utilize the fullback more. I thought they didn't really use the fullback as much as I figured that they were going to. Excuse me. In week 1 against the Buffalo Bills. Now, they used a lot of 3 tight end sets, and Mecole Hardman wasn't, I'm sure he wasn't happy. He didn't get on the field. His only snap was on special teams I believe it was the last play of the game. Maybe they find creative ways to use him. It's just the game plan really changed once Aaron Rodgers went down. They went heavy and tried to run the ball. Like the big Brees Hall run was, you had Conklin, Ruckert, and Uzama all on the field. There are going to be times where there's 3 tight ends on the field, and they're going to punch you in the mouth. It's going to be 2009, 2010 Rex Ryan, Brian Schottenheimer led offense. They're going to run the ball a ton. They're going to play really great defense and hope their quarterback doesn't lose them the game. And I hope, Zach is playing with confidence, because we've seen it, that Zach Wilson is, when he's not pressured and when he's confident, he can play a little bit. But that's the thing. Like, you can't be a consistent quarterback in this league if you're not staying consistent. And continue to start in this league if you're not consistent. I want to see if they have the Wilson under pressure numbers, because here we go. All right, we could share the screen. A reason for encouragement: when Jets quarterback Zach Wilson has a clean pocket with no pressures. He has 7 touchdowns to only 3 interceptions, along with the 4th best rating and yards per attempt per ESPN's Rich Cimini. The only quarterbacks with a better rating and yards per attempt with a clean pocket is Mahomes, Hurts, and Tua. That's some strong company. Now, I believe this is let's look at the full Cimini tweet. This is since last season, a much better. Rich goes into much more detail. So, when he faces pressure, this is obviously terrible. 0 touchdowns to 5 interceptions, completion percentage of 23.6. Just horrific. Absolutely horrific there. But when he doesn't face pressure, 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 4th best QBR in yards per attempt. And this trend held true on Monday night, where he was 13 of 16 with no pressure, and then 1 of 5, 1.2 yards per attempt when pressured. He's going to face a lot of pressure today. Like, that's the thing. There's no way around it. This Dallas Cowboys defense is going to bring the heat. So in order for Zach to have success, he has to buck this trend. He has to ditch this, because there's no way in the world that he can be a starting quarterback in this league if these numbers don't improve. Like, obviously a drastic difference. And I'm not saying that he has to jump all the way up to be where he is when he's not facing pressure. That's an unrealistic ask, but 23.6%, 0 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. And on Monday night in week 1 of 5, 1.2 yards per attempt. Awful. Just, you need to be better then. You need to be better there. Brian says JSN would have been active today. Brian, I got a good one for you, Brian. You ready? Ready for that?
Put him in the fucking bathroom. Get him out of here.
Enjoy your 5 minutes in the bathroom, Brian. We got Milano picking off Jimmy G. So a tough outing for Jimmy G in Buffalo. It's 28-10 Bills right now. I think they're showing it on Red Zone. Oh, wow. What a play by Milano, actually. He kind of reached over and pulled it up and pulled it out of there. That was impressive. Milano's a good player. He's a little dirty. He hit Zach Wilson pretty good. He obviously crushed Mike White last week. I don't know how Milano wasn't penalized, but he just stole that ball away from Jacobs. That was impressive. Barney comes back in and says, look for more short passes. Nania pointed out recently that his completion percentage is trending up on short passes, which he used to really suck at. Yes, last week he was good at the screen game. The Jets obviously did not run a ton of things, really all that deep for him. But I want to pull up some of his completions and stuff like that. Bear with me a second. I'll bring his next gen stats. 2023. Let's see if we could pull this up on the fly. I don't have it loaded. Oh, it'd be charts. It'd be a quarterback charts. Passing. Okay, yes, here we go. I'm going to share this tab instead. This is Zach Wilson's chart. Okay. So, obviously, a lot of stuff 10 yards and in. Had a really nice 20-yard throw. That's the one to Allen Lazard. But he was better also at throwing to the left, which is something he really did not do a lot. His first 2 years in the league, very rarely would throw left. If you would look at these charts, it was a lot of heavy to the right. And to be fair, most quarterbacks are going to be better throwing to whatever side is natural for them. If you're a righty, the right side, a lefty, the left-hand side. But the left side and behind the line of scrimmage on these screens, completion. He only had 2 incompletions from 5 yards and in. Now, one of them was an interception, which is obviously no good. We don't like that. But a lot of completions here. This is good. That is obviously a good trend. Jay Boy asks who's not playing. Will McDonald is inactive today, and people are upset. people are incredibly upset that Will McDonald is not playing, and I get it. There's going to be a big reaction to it, but I totally get it. WL says Bills destroying Vegas. Everything saw this coming. Meaning everyone saw this coming. Yeah, they lost a tough one in overtime to the Jets. Is their home opener. The Bills are up 28-10. They picked off Jimmy G. The Raiders had a nice win on the road in week 1. You got to give them credit there. But yeah, I think the Bills winning big at home should not be a surprise. Oreo is pretty confident in this game for the New York Jets. Says prediction for this game, I think it'll be tight, but I think the Cowboys win 24-16. All right. I don't think either team gets up to 20 points, but I don't have an issue if you're picking against the Jets. I want the Jets to win every single game, but if a fan is like, hey, I really think for X, Y, and Z, the Jets are not going to win this game, and you give out legitimate reasons, I think that is more than fair. And again, I don't think the Cowboys get up to 24 points. I think you're looking at a 16-13 kind of game here, low scoring, kind of ugly. But it would not shock me if the Dallas Cowboys won the game. They're a big favorite in this one, so yeah, I'm with you. I get you, Oreo. Joe says the Jets are running right at Parsons with AVT, Becton, Bawden, and a tight end. Yeah, I think that would be the move. Parson is a phenomenal pass rusher, but I think this Dallas Cowboys defense, if there's an area of weakness, it would be the run defense. I think that is an area that the Jets should look to attack. Number one, because you're going from Aaron Rodgers to Zach Wilson, and naturally, I think you're going to have to run the ball more to mitigate that drop off. But that's not their biggest strength in general. Their strength to me is the pass rush, and they have guys in the secondary who could take the football away. And I think how you beat them is you run it at them. And we saw the Giants have a little bit of success before everything went wrong. If you remember from that game in week 1 on Sunday Night Football, the Giants and the Cowboys, that first opening possession, the Giants were running the ball right down the field. They stalled for a field goal attempt. And that was it. Oh, finally, T. Higgins has a catch and a touchdown. He's on my fantasy team. He gave me 0 points last week and was doing basically nothing today. So I might have a shot in fantasy this week. Sorry, I got red zone on. I'm reacting as well to things, but sorry for the fantasy rant there. But going back to the Cowboys defense, I think if there is a weakness on that defense, it's their run defense, and that's something the Jets do well. So that's another reason why I think this is going to be a tighter game than Vegas or a lot of people are anticipating. I don't see the Cowboys running away with this one. I really don't. J-Boy asked, what is Lawson? Yes, Carl Lawson is back this week. He is back in action. He is making his 2023 season debut. SG asks, how many targets for Garrett Wilson today? I'm going to say 9 targets. 6 catches on 9 targets for Garrett Wilson will be my guess. And he will have a touchdown. For the second week in a row, Garrett Wilson has a touchdown. So Zach is throwing a touchdown today, which is kind of a hot take because he doesn't always throw the touchdown passes. In fact, in some of his better games, it's been when he's been like no passing touchdowns, no picks. But I think we see a Garrett Wilson receiving touchdown this week again. Beth Page says, Will on this turf would be huge. He's so fast. He is fast. And look, I don't think he's someone who's going to be inactive every single week. I know he's inactive this week, and I know people are going to be upset about it. I get it. It does optics wise. It doesn't look great when your first round pick is inactive. I understand that. The Jets are really deep at that position, number one. And they're getting Carl Lawson back. In other weeks, there's going to be times where Will is active, whether it's someone banged up or just they're going to have less guys active in another area. Don't be scared now that, oh my God, McDonald's going to be inactive every single week. And last year, Bryce Huff started the season inactive, and then he became one of their better pass rushers as the season went on. I would anticipate something similar happening with Will McDonald and this New York Jets team. I'm not saying that's the right decision necessarily, and that it's the right call or right move for them to come out here and, keep him inactive, or, making Bryce Huff inactive last year was a wise decision. But I just think for me anyway, this is not something that I'm going to overreact to. It happened. I get it. It could be frustrating, but I'm not going to go up in arms over it. That's what Jay Boy says. If Lawson is playing, I understand them sending the rookie. Of course, they're deep on edge, and Carl Lawson's good. I think a lot of fans underrate him. Same with John Franklin Myers. To me, those two are a very integral part of this Jets defensive line being so good. Johnny chimes in. What's going on, Johnny? Says, man, I'm in Jamaica and so glad that this is being shown on CBS and I can watch it. Nice. I thought my Sunday ticket would work out here. Oh my God. I could not imagine having that nerves of like, oh my God, how am I going to watch this game? Being overseas and having to watch the game. I'm very particular with that. And I'm sure, all Jet fans or, especially the diehards are, they want to be in on that. They don't want to miss anything. I don't want to miss anything. So I'm glad that you're going to be able to watch the game. And we're hanging out here till roughly 4:00 today. I'm going to pass the torch. Green Bean goes live on Talking Jets at 4 p.m. He will have you covered for the game, the live game reaction. Him and Jeremy's brother reacting to some of the big plays in week 1 were absolutely hysterical. So if you missed that for whatever reason, make sure to go back and find it. We clipped it on and put it out on social media, but also there's timestamps in the comments of that video as well if you want to check that out. But I will be on with them at halftime, and I'll have you here with my pregame thoughts up until about 4 o'clock today. Little Jay says, imagine this somehow becomes an offensive shootout. What an double bird FU that would be, to be like, oh, you think these are 2 great defenses. Zach Wilson struggled in his career. Actually, there's going to be a 30-27 game. You're like, what? Tell me 57 points are going to be scored between these 2 teams. It would be funny. It would be funny. I don't see it going that way. I think it's going to be a low number, but that would be hilarious. Brian Bogan's in the chat. Brian, good to see you. Hope you're having a good day. Says, I want our D-line wearing the Ray Lewis, Justin Tuck face mask with visor. So mean looking. That is with the dark visor across with the face mask. You know who had a good visor face mask look last week was Quincy Williams. And I believe he actually took it out at one, or either started with it out and then put it in. He changed it at one point during the game, but Quincy Williams has a good look with that. And you're right. Just the mean looking face mask with the visor. I am a sucker for a nice visor on a helmet. And maybe that's just, the early 2000s football fan in me. That's when I got into football and sports in general. I feel like that was so popular. You had, LaDainian Tomlinson, Ricky Williams. They were always rocking the visors. And on defense, Brian Dawkins rocking his visor. It is intimidating and nice looking. I like it. Brian asks, is Green Bean even more motivated or animated when at the game? Yeah, he's the absolute best to go to a game with. I had the luxury of going to each of the last 2 home openers with him, not this year. So in 2021, which was a bad game, actually both were bad. They lost both times, but in 21 and then in 22, and both times it was an absolute pleasure to take in a game with Green Bean. He is genuinely one of the nicest people that I know on the planet, and also genuinely one of the funniest people that I know on the planet. And that translates to in person and at the game. It was so funny. Joe's back and says, I'm feeling a special teams and defensive touchdowns. If both those things happen, then the Jets are putting up over 20 points. And they probably win the game, Joe. If you're getting a special teams and a defensive touchdown, you would hope that they win the game. How do we feel about a Sauce Gardner pick 6? He almost had one against the Green Bay Packers last year, and that kind of in a similar way was a game that a lot of people weren't giving the Jets much of a chance in, on the road in Lambeau, Aaron Rodgers, and you almost had that pick 6 right at the start of the game. What if that happens? That would be really, really interesting. I'm in on that. Joe, who are you thinking on the defense for a touchdown? If you didn't say, I might have missed your comment. I'm not all the way caught up yet. Harlan is saying the Jets will do better than most people think. Well, Vegas has this spread at, I believe, let's see what it is now. No free plugs on what sports book we're going to look at. But let's take a look at what the line is right now. Right now, the Jets are 8.5 point underdogs. That I think is a little disrespectful. I think it'll be, 3-point game. I think that line should be like 4.5, maybe something like that. Oreo wants to know X factor for today and what's your score prediction? Okay. So an X factor is going to be the turnover battle, which I guess isn't necessarily like one player. And I guess if I'll give you a player, I'll say Sauce, because I think he needs to take away the football. And he struggled really for the first time in his career. I think Sauce Gardner had a bad game on Monday night. And there's a lot of reasons that went into it. And I want to make this like abundantly clear. I am not concerned about Sauce Gardner. And even in what was arguably his worst career game as a pro, he didn't let up a touchdown, and it was like 59 receiving yards, I believe was the number, 59 for Sauce Gardner, and no touchdowns. But I think the injury to Aaron Rodgers spooked him a little bit. And I do think the going up against one of the better wide receivers in the game, like Stephon Diggs, is fantastic. Like we got to give some credit to these guys on the offensive side of the ball sometimes. As much and as good as Sauce Gardner is, he's going to get beat sometimes, and that happened in this game a couple of times. And I think he bounces back in a big way. And if he takes the ball away, that's taking his game to the next level. He's something he did twice last year, 2 interceptions. I think that would make him a more effective player. So I'm expecting him to bounce back. And for the score, I've been saying 16-13 a lot. And that's what I'll stick with. I'll say 16-13. And I guess I go back on my word. I guess I'll pick the Jets to win. Originally, I picked the Cowboys. I think the Jets cover, but the Cowboys win. But I've talked myself into the Jets winning this game in the last 24 hours because that's what happens every week, right? We're crazy as fans. We can talk ourselves into it. Nick H says people are underrating Dalvin Cook. It was his first game in a new offense, and he's only been here 3 weeks. I think he'll make some plays today. I hope so. He averaged, it was like 2.5 yards a carry. I would like for that number to go up, obviously. He didn't look good in week 1, but that's a good point to bring up with Dalvin Cook, is he hasn't had a ton of practice time yet, and he hasn't been here long. So I would hope that he improves this week. I think that would be a major, major key to this offense, because as good as Breece Hall is, I don't want Breece Hall running the ball 20 times a game right now. It's a long 17-game season. I want him healthy through the remainder of the season, and they have him on a pitch count. He ran the ball 10 times in week 1. I would expect roughly the same, maybe 10 to 12 carries, somewhere in that range for Breece Hall. But I think Dalvin's getting like 15 carries today. And if he's getting the ball 15 times, I hope he's giving you more than 2.5 yards a carry. Just get me to 4. If you get me to 4 yards a carry, you can survive in this offense. Absolutely. So that's a good call out, Nick. I think it's worthwhile to mention. Well, I listed him as someone that I think needs to bounce back. It was Laken Tomlinson, Dalvin Cook, and Sauce Gardner were the 3 guys who I think need to have bounce back games for the Jets to win today. It's not impossible for any of those guys too. In fact, I think it's more likely than not that there is a bounce back from those guys. Another great call out from Brian here. I trust Hack to put together a plan that emphasizes Zach's strengths. Yeah, I would like to get Zach on the move a little bit, on a rollout, like a designed rollout. I'm not talking about, oh my God, panic play. He's 40 yards behind the line of scrimmage. What do we do kind of thing. I'm talking about like a design rollout to the right, get him to throw. If it's not there, chuck it out of bounds. It's fine. But also, like, he's very athletic. I would like him to have him use his legs a little bit more as a runner. I'm not saying you got to be Justin Fields or, Lamar Jackson or anything like that, but he's an athletic guy. He's shown off, there's been games in his career where he's looked good running the football. The game against Tampa in the preseason, there was the game against Jacksonville in the regular season in his rookie year. There's been times where it's worked really, really well for him. Yeah, Jay Boy says, I want a Ruckert jersey. I totally get that. I would love a Ruckert jersey as well. Number 89, Long Island kid. For me, it's the hard-nosed mentality. He's from Long Island. If you're a Long Island guy, how do you not? Grew up a Jet fan. Love me some Jeremy Ruckert. Love me some Bill Ruckert. 2 legends right there. Little J08 says, I would love to start with the defensive touchdown like 2018 versus the Colts. Okay. I don't remember a lot of that game. Obviously, the Jets started with a touchdown, a defensive touchdown, as you mentioned, but I don't really remember a ton from that game in 2018. That was a weird season. Darnold's rookie year, he ends up getting hurt. Obviously, remember the first game of the year. There was also the game against Denver, where wasn't Isaiah Crowell? Didn't he run for like 1,000,000 yards in that game? And then there was a couple of clunkers in there on that 2018 season, but If I remember correctly, I think that Indy game was one of Sam's better games off the top of my head. But Little Jay, you could let me know in the comments if I'm remembering correctly on that, and who scored that defensive touchdown, because I don't remember off the top of my head. I don't know. So 17-13 Jets. I would sign up for that. If they're going to win this game, I think that's how it's going to play out. It's going to be a low scoring game. And if that plays into what the Jets are trying to do, they play great defense, they run the football, and they're not going to ask their quarterback to do a whole lot. If it's a low scoring game, if you're in the fourth quarter and both teams are sitting at 13 points, I like the Jets' chances. Duncan says, my worry is Greg the leg being out. That's points there and could be a big difference maker. You're 100%, Duncan. You can't emphasize how important he is. Special teams matters. We saw it last week. And another, in all phases, number one, Zorlan was good. Number two, Morstead, the punter, was good. That is an upgrade over Braden Mann. And number three, the return game was good. Because last year, we loved, Braxton Berrios all pro in 2021. He was really good for this team. Last year, he struggled as a returner. It felt like he was so unsure whether he should fair catch the ball, let it bounce, when to catch it in return. He struggled. But special teams is such a difference maker. When you're a good team and when you're fighting in these games against other really good teams, that's going to matter. And it was going to be a revenge game for Greg the Leg. I was all in on that Greg the Leg revenge game factor. Sign me the hell up for that. But unfortunately, would not be the case today. I just hope he's not out long term. Obviously, he's not playing in this game, but hopefully he's back. Harlan says, come on, people, hit that like button. 111 watches and only 44 likes. Yeah, if you're in here and you enjoy what you see, please give a like. It's a free way to help support us. I know you're probably tired of hearing myself or anyone who's live say, give a like. And it helps the YouTube algorithm show that people enjoy this content and puts the videos and the streams and what we're doing in front of more eyeballs, which at the end of the day is the goal here. We want as many people to consume and care about New York Jets football as humanly possible. Let's go to Super Chat. Green Empire Lawn Care, thank you so much for the Super Chat. Says, I watched the Space Cowboy YouTube channel today, and he thinks if the Cowboys can make Zach throw the ball, they can win. Now, that I think is absolutely the recipe for success for the Dallas Cowboys. They are going to try to stack the box, right? They'll have 9 in the box, like at the end of the year last year against this Jets team, and they are going to dare them to throw the ball. So it is up to Zach Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett, too, who's calling the plays, obviously, to devise a plan to get them to back off a little bit. Get these guys to back off so that you can do what you need to do on offense. Again, the game plan is going to be to run the ball. They're going to build off the play action, one would assume, screen passes, the whole thing. But at times this year, in this game and this year, if Zach's going to be starting the rest of the way, they need to take a couple of shots because that is going to then back the defense off a little bit. But from the Cowboys' perspective, absolutely, your first thing has to be stop the run game. If they are able to do that, and come down to the line of scrimmage and make plays in the short passing attack, then it's going to be a hard day for Zach. Just, that's probably the reality there. And you just hope that from the Jet side of things, that they're able to take a shot, get them to back off a little bit, get him to connect. And again, it's a really big test for Nathaniel Hackett and Zach Wilson in this game. And we'll see. We will see how it goes there. Green and White's back, says, all right, I'm back. I'm on my way home. Good. He's going to make it back in time for kickoff. 9-6 Jets. No fault to Zach. These defenses are brutal. That is 100% the truth. You have two absolutely excellent defenses going up against each other with the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Jets. I don't care really for the next 2 weeks in particular. just find a way to win. If they win 9-6, if they beat the New England Patriots 2-0, and Zach throws 3 interceptions, obviously that's not what I'm hoping for, but if they beat New England for the first time in a millennium this upcoming week, I'll be happy. But this starts today. Worry about today, get the job done today against Dallas, but even if it's a 9-6 game, then it is what it is. Angel says, put Laken Tomlinson at quarterback and make him see the consequences of his actions. Jeez. Oh, boy. Well, you'd probably be making the offensive line better because Laken Tomlinson would be out, and you would get Joe Tippmann in at left guard. I like this. Flea flicker first play. Was it in the Packers game? I believe Jordan Love threw a flea flicker on like the first play of the game. There have been times in the Jets history where they've done that. The one that jumps out to me, Kellen Clemens against the Steelers in 2007. They threw a bomb I think it was Lavernius Coles, could have been Cotchery, but that got him down to the 1. I'm in on a flea flicker. You're gonna have to take a shot. You are absolutely gonna have to take a shot. Andrew says, let them. Wilson is fine with the deep ball. It was short stuff he struggled with, and he's gotten better at that from last year. The accuracy is my biggest concern with Zach Wilson. And yes, he has gotten better at his short stuff, but it would be really nice to see that him improve there. We saw there was somebody down. Sorry, there was somebody down on the field in Detroit. I was looking to see if that was Jared Goff. Somebody was down on the field. I don't like to see injuries. If you're in the chat right now and watching that game or watching Red Zone, let me know if that was Jared Goff who was down on the floor. I hate to see injuries. Anthony Richardson left after running for 2 touchdowns in the first half of that game. Harlan says the coaching change has certainly helped Zach Wilson. I really hope that's the case. I hope that we continue to see that this week. He'll be down on the sidelines, which I absolutely loved. Down on the sidelines, it was Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard, and Nathaniel Hackett. The 3 of those guys came up to him and spoke to Zach Wilson during the game and were keeping his head in the game. Confidence is really the biggest thing for Zach Wilson. And up here, like he has to have it up top mentally. No one will ever question his physical gifts. He is a talented player, but mentally, at times when he loses confidence, he looks like he does not belong in the league. A confident Zach Wilson is a good Zach Wilson. Let's see. Andrew says if you can repeat what he did on Monday, will be good. Yeah, and especially in the second half. After that interception, I thought Zach played much better. I just don't want to see him, force balls and just not see linebackers like dropping into coverage. Like that was such an easy read that he just flat out missed the linebacker, and Milano dropped right back into coverage and picked him off. And, that can't happen. If he could eliminate those things from his game, the Jets will be in a much better chance to compete against the Dallas Cowboys. The problem, though, as we've stressed a lot already on this stream, the big problem is that the Dallas Cowboys are really good at turning the ball over. Really good at turning the ball over. Brian says, biggest moment of the last week was Hack sitting down and talking to Zach after his interception. Can't be understated how face-to-face interaction helped him correct his mistake. OC in the booth did no good. Yeah, and also, too, there's a good point brought up by Jake Asman on one of his live streams this week, said it. Zach Wilson played his best football as a pro when John Beck was here and he had his quarterback coach down on the sideline. So potentially having your OC now on the sideline with you rather than being upstairs in the booth where, albeit probably easier to see and call plays for him upstairs, you're not getting that interaction. And Hackett has to be in Zach's ear and keeping him positive and keeping him in the right headspace. That little stuff makes all the difference in the world for Zach Wilson. And if the Jets are to have any success with him, once again, they need him to be confident. So, yeah, I'm hoping for the best there, really. Gotham City Jet says, want to see Will McDonald active next week against the Patriots. I totally get that. There's going to be a lot of people upset with with him being inactive. I totally understand it. It is what it is. They're really, really deep at the position. They're incredibly deep at the position. I hope he's active next week as well. It's going to depend on some other things at the bottom of their roster, who they're going to want to keep out there. Maybe eventually Solomon Thomas becomes inactive, but they love Solly. They absolutely love what he brings. And right now, Will McDonald's the odd man out, but I think that changes. And it'd be nice to see him come up with a big sack late in the game. Fletch says, how closely do you think Joe Douglas is watching Gardner Minshew right now? I don't think he is going to be an option depending on how, the significance of the injury to Anthony Richardson. I think him coming into this game hurts the Jets' chances of be able to go out there and get a guy like, oh, wow, there was just a brutal intercept. Goff just had an abysmal pick six. That was terrible. Oh, my God. They were driving. Goff's been really good today. An absolute dagger of an interception. Now it's about to PAT pending. It's 30-21, but about to be a 10-point game in what was a 3-point game just a moment ago. Wow, that is a big-time momentum changer. Angel says, Jets game is nationally televised, so I won't have to pirate it here in CA in Cali. You are living your best life, sir, Angel. Good for you. Brian says, people can chill. JJ and Will McDonald will be burying quarterbacks together for years to come. Yeah, the pick was always about, how much they love the speed, but that's going to be more of a long-term pick, Will McDonald. Then he'll get his chances this year. He's not going to be inactive the next 16 weeks in a row or 16 games in a row. I really don't buy that. Wow, they're showing Jared Goff went 383 passing attempts, which was third all time without an interception before that. But as far as it goes with JJ and Will McDonald, I don't anticipate either one of them being an issue, like, there is a bust or not worth the pick or this and that. Like, I want an offensive lineman. And it was very, very clear that the New York Jets they valued him more than every single player on that board. They had him number one over Michael Mayer, who ended up going before that. And they had him over the tackle that was taken from the trade up with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They made the trade up. They took the tackle, Broderick Jones, and they had Will McDonald over Broderick Jones. Kay says the Bears defense took the Bears to the Super Bowl. The Jets defense will take the Jets to the Super Bowl. I like the optimism. 1985 and 2023 NFL is a little bit different. The 2000s Ravens did it. There's been examples of defenses carrying teams. You need to, in today's game, you need to be functioning on offense. We saw a great defense and, pretty good quarterback play take the 49ers to a championship game. And if Zach Wilson could be Brock Purdy, the Jets will be right there in the mix, but they need to have Zach be capable. He can't have these meltdown performances. He just needs to manage the game. Do you think the Jets will go after Cousins? Says Blues and Blues. I don't think I did a video on it. They could get creative and try to do something like that if Minnesota falls out of it. I just don't know if they would pull the trigger on something like that. I wouldn't be so quick to dismiss it if that was a realistic option for the Jets this year, depending on what's happening with Zach. But I think the Vikings beat kind of put that rumor to bed. I think they're going to try to ride this thing out with Kirk Cousins. But if he's available, I don't think you'd be so quick to dismiss. Because he has his flaws. Believe me, I'm not the biggest Kirk Cousins fan. I don't think he is a perfect quarterback, The Jets don't need a perfect quarterback right now. They could win a lot with a middle of the road quarterback, which, there's no denying that Kirk is a top half of the league quarterback. Michael says run at Parsons. Yeah, I think that's what they're going to try to do today. The run defense for the Dallas Cowboys is really not their strength. So if the Jets are to have success offensively today, they are going to have to get some things going in their direction. I don't know. Chimes in, excuse me, and says, Zach just has to be average and not turn the ball over. Jets will be okay. That is exactly the recipe to success. Look up what Blake Bortles did for Jacksonville in 2017. Blake Bortles got the Jacksonville Jaguars to the championship. Offensive coordinator, by the way, was Nathaniel Hackett for that team. He threw for 3,687 yards, 230.4 yards per game. Mind you, that was a 16-game season back then. So 230 yards per game. You could probably even deal with a little bit less than that. 21 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, had an 84.7 rating. If he does that, they are probably fighting for the division still at that point. If Zach Wilson could give you, do that even over a 17-game pace, 230 yards a game, we'd go nuts if Zach Wilson was throwing 230 yards a game. But I guess technically it would kind of be like this. Oh, no, he played enough for it to be 17 games. But anyway, 3,700 yards, 21 touchdowns, 13 picks, rating in the mid-80s, 220 yards a game. Turnovers, obviously you'd like even less than 13 turnovers in a perfect world, but I don't know if you're going to get that. Chicago just scored, I guess. 20, they're about to make it a 3-point game. Was it Claypool? That would be kind of ironic, wouldn't it? After everything all week long with everyone, talking shit on Chase Claypool and how he had a terrible game, which he did, by the way. But yeah, it looks like it was Chase Claypool. Matt asks me, how many sacks for Q today? I'm thinking 2. Love the matchup. I do like the matchup against this Dallas Cowboys interior offensive line, as long as he's not going up against Zach Martin, because on the right side of the line is going to be much, much better. But if he's over the left guard, he is going to have a big day. I'll say he gets a sack. I don't think it's 2, but I think he will be heavily, heavily involved. 5 sacks total on the day for the Jets. I'll go for my 5. I will go Carl Lawson in his return gets 1. Quinnen gets 1. JFM gets 1. Huff gets 1. And I'll go Solomon Thomas. Let's go off the board. Why not? Let's get a little nuts. I don't know. It says all you need to know about the Jets defense is Buffalo has 38 points on the board today. Well, just really, yeah. I mean, one, the Raiders, completely different team, right? Completely different team. But yeah, it goes to show you just how good that Jets defense is. Absolutely. And they do match up well against Josh Allen and Buffalo. They have for the last few years now. They always play them tight. They always are in the games. It's kind of just about, doing some other little things now at this point. They'll get there. Green and White Militia says it's pretty wild that we are actually in a position to sit our 15th pick and be great. That's also an interesting way to look at it is, you have somebody where you're able to take them you don't need these rookies to be stars right away. The Jets aren't really playing their first or second round pick a ton this year, but they are going to be a gigantic part of this team for years to come. And you could talk about whether or not that's the right decision, I guess, to draft that way, but they're so deep on the defensive line, and eventually they are going to get Joe Tippmann in this year. We'll see. It depends on how good or not good they get, play-wise from Laken Tomlinson. Ooh, Tyler Conklin catches a touchdown pass to be the first tight end to record a touchdown next week in week 3 will be my guess. Week 3 is when a Jets tight end catches a touchdown pass. Falcons are low-key hanging around in this game. It's 24-19. They're driving a little bit. 9 minutes left in this game. Got about a little less than 20 minutes. And then I'll hop off, and then Green Bean will be live over on his channel to get you ready for this one. I like checking on red zone here. Oh, and another touchdown pass. Jared Goff to Reynolds. Josh Reynolds has been good today. Hawkeye says, other than AVT, next year's opening day offensive line will probably look totally different, is something to think about. Probably. I mean, you'd imagine Tippmann's going to start. AVT will be here. Maybe Mekhi. I hope Mekhi Becton's back. He plays well enough that he's back. But yeah, there's a chance that it will look very different and hopefully more improved as well. Brian says, how many yards will Brees' first touchdown be? And then says 50 plus. I don't think he has as big of a game. I think he runs for like 60 yards today. He'll have like one 15 plus yard run and then just kind of be solid the rest of the day. That's going to be my prediction. But I think Dalvin Cook is better so that it ends up evening out a little bit. Explosive Diarrhea, still one of my favorite names on YouTube. I love anytime Explosive Diarrhea comes into the comments, I giggle to myself. Jets need to survive that early rush from the Cowboys. Yeah, they're gonna bring the heat, and you know that it's just all to me about if this Jets offense is going to be able to respond. Can you get punched in the mouth? Can you deal with going 3 and out or taking a sack or whatever and have enough to bounce back? Kay says Zach and Hall, Jets start 5-1 in playoffs. A 5-1 start would be incredible. I would sign up for 3-3 through the first 6 games heading into the bye week. If you're at 3-3, you have a really nice chance to make some noise. Even at 2-4, I think you can survive. You got to get the game against Denver. And then if you're 3-3, you're in a good spot. At least in my opinion. I think you could do some damage. Obviously, I'll take a 5-1 start. I love this. There's a video of Jake Asman getting the crowd hyped up. He's there. He's at the game. Jake Asman's there. The Jets fan tailgate going nuts. Big game. A lot of people made the trip out there to Dallas to watch this game. There's going to be a lot of green and white jerseys in the crowd. So kudos to those Jet fans for making the trip out there. Obviously not what they thought they were getting. They thought it was going to be an Aaron Rodgers and Dak Prescott back and forth action, but you know, it still should be a good game. And, you know, let's get behind Zach. Brian says we just need long drives. Let's let the defense get a break and control the clock. I love that. That sounds good to me. I'm in on that. Brian says, I'd love to see Jerry World in person. I think that to me is the best stadium in the league. It's really a shame just how poor MetLife Stadium is in comparison to, you know, some of these other palaces like AT&T. To me, that's just perfect. It is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stadium. And the Jets and Giants got it so wrong with MetLife Stadium. J Boy says Q Ball is going to show why we paid him today. Yeah, I thought, you know, even in week 1, we saw that from Quinnen Williams. We saw why he was paid to stay here. He is a great, great player. I'm so excited that we have him locked up under contract for the foreseeable future. He's a great leader, a great young player on this defense, and is only getting better. This Chargers-Tennessee game going right down to the wire. Can the Chargers go down the field and score a touchdown here? That would be pretty good for me in gambling life, but in NFL life, would you rather the Chargers or Tennessee win this game? I guess Tennessee, because I don't think they have much of a chance wildcard wise, but the Chargers starting 0-2 would put a pretty big damper on their chances, you would think. Dustin says it's very reasonable for the Jets to lose this one. That would be fine, but it makes me concerned to go into New England after that. Fair. Totally fair. Again, I understand that thought and why you'd be nervous about that. This is a very challenging game. A very, very challenging game for the New York Jets going on the road to Dallas against a great defense. I think they're going to be in it right to the end. If they lose this game, it's not the end of the world, but you would feel a hell of a lot better making a statement on the road, winning this game with Zach Wilson, who's supposed to be your backup quarterback this year. That would be a major, major, major statement win for the New York Jets. If they were able to pull that off, that'd be epic. That would be really, really epic. And then have you feel pretty good going home 2-0 against the New England Patriots in your own building against a team that you haven't beat since 2015. Get the job done today, please. Music Man 72 says, last thing I want to see is Zach running for his life all day, carrying the ball like a loaf of bread. Yeah, we saw it once last week where their screen got blown up and he dropped it off, which was bad. And Gino just took a really bad sack in this Seahawks Lions game. He did a Zach. He scrambled backwards for like 25 yards. That was kind of wild. Yeah, if he could get rid of that, that would be really, really clutch. I would sign up for him getting rid of that. All right, we got the Jets walking out of the tunnel. So let's pull that up. We got Sauce Gardner coming out. I like that they're wearing green. I know that they obviously, the home team gets to choose what uniforms they wear. And the Cowboys, they wear white at home. But the green and with the white pants, I think, is a better look than the Jets give it credit for. They only wore green once last season, and they wore the green with the green pants. I hate the green pants. If you followed me for a long time, you know my favorite jersey is the white top with the white bottom. I just don't like the green on green or the white on green. So I am glad that the Jets went this route. And there he is. There's Sauce walking out there, hopefully to go out and do some damage in this game. Breece Hall's cleats as well. And I think those are spectacular. I love it. Good stuff. Mike says Whitehead is getting another interception today. I like that. I made the mistake of refreshing Twitter, and it is all just Will McDonald takes. It's really funny. Brian S., could they have worn black today? Yeah, I mean, they could have, but I don't think they announced which games they're wearing the black jerseys for. They announced which games they're doing the legacy for, but actually, I take that back. Did they announce what days they're doing the black jerseys this year? I don't remember off the top of my head. I know that they're wearing the legacies against the Kansas City, and then I believe it's the Black Friday game against the Dolphins. They're in the legacy jerseys again. How about this Kansas City and Jacksonville game? Two great young quarterbacks, and it's only a 17-9 game. That's kind of wild. J-Boy says week 9 black jerseys. Oh, that makes so much more sense. Jay says week 9 and on Black Friday. Duh, Black Friday they're wearing that one. They're wearing the legacies another time at some point this year. Oh, it is the Chargers game. I hope so, because that's the game that I'm going to. With Ryan, I'll be up there with Ryan and Green Bean and a bunch of people from Jets YouTube. So we have limited tickets left, but if you're interested in going to that, talkingjets.com for tickets to Jets Chargers on Monday Night Football. And Chargers and Tennessee is in OT right now, overtime. J-Boy says you'll be up there with me. There we go. See, J-Boy will be making the trip out there. I'm so excited for that game. I cannot wait for that game. And just for so many, Jet fans to be out there together all as a group. We'll be out on the field before the game, which is so sick. I've never been on the field for a game. I don't think I've ever been on the field at MetLife, actually, and just in general. So that's going to be a really cool experience. I can't wait for that. It's going to be so sick. We got time for a few more. We'll get out of here in a couple of minutes. Music Man says, just wanted to give a great big pregame work. Well, let me take a sip of water too. All right, ready? Jets, Jets. Love it. Thank you, Music Man 72. I love it. Harlan says, we'll be watching in front of my TV set. Love that. That's the best way to take in a game, by the way. I like to go to usually one game a year, maybe sometimes two, but one game a year because the in-stadium experience is different, and I like that. I could not do that every single week. Like, I don't know how people who have season tickets and do that. It just takes a lot. It's a long day. It takes a lot out of you. It's a long day sitting in traffic, making the trip out there. You miss so much else of other football. Ooh, all right. We're getting some garbage time touchdowns to T. Higgins. I like that. Let's go. That's good for fantasy, Matt O'Leary. Bengals trying to make this thing a game. Kay says, show some Jets love. Hit the like. Yeah, drop a like button. Let's go. Let's go, Jets. We got some positivity in here before we get out of here. Let's go. Blues is Blues saying Jets will win today. Vanilla Dice says this is going to be a massacre. 38-6 Weed M boys. Oh, no. I have bad news for you, Vanilla.
Put him in the fucking bathroom. Get him out of here.
Enjoy your 5 minutes in the bathroom. I'm so sorry that happened to you. John, he's a member of the channel. John, appreciate you. Says Jags 4th and 10 for the tie or a chance to win. Or did that happen already? I may have missed that. Having my head down here. They're showing on Red Zone the Lions driving a little bit. This has been a good game, 31-28. 3rd and 10. Oh, Lawrence went down. Are they? Oh, that might have been a backwards pass. Is that what they're reviewing? Watching games on mute while doing a stream is hard. It's hard. I don't know. It says we'll have a victory Monday. I hope you're all right, good sir. Blues is Blues. Jets win by 3. I like that. I think that's how we'll end this stream. Jets win by 3. Get the W today. I'll be on at halftime with Green Bean. Make sure to head over to Talking Jets. He's going live at 4:00 at the top of the hour for Jets against the Dallas Cowboys. Let's get this W. Jets. Jets.